Good evening.
Evening.
Welcome to the party. It's just me.
Glad to be invited.
Glad to hear it. As per usual, go ahead and wait a little bit, see who else ends up joining in. This is probably going to be a short meeting, honestly. I don't have a ton that I need to cover unless people have tons of questions or something, but your next two chapters are pretty straightforward and a lot easier than your last ones.
Really? Because I was struggling really hard with that tic-tac-toe one.
Well, the thing is, yeah, that's kind of complicated. But honestly, it's let me try to adjust that. You're given 2 weeks for it for a reason, so you have time.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I was like struggling really hard because I was like, oh my god, I have like 3 days and like I haven't gotten past 3 things on it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's supposed to start this week, and that's why it's definitely a larger scale project per se. So they how it's supposed to be allotted is that they tell you about it this week. You can start working on it this week, get the concept for it, start mapping it out, pseudocode or whatever else you need, and then next week you can implement it in full. Honestly, you can even do a little bit of reading ahead. It really doesn't take much to kind of get your understanding of this chapter, chapter 10 and chapter 11, and then you can work off the concepts of that. So honestly, you have some time. It's due next Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, well, I code mostly in like C++ and stuff, so I think like I'm just so used to using everything else that now that I'm using like 3 different things, I'm using Raptor, C++, at work I'm doing SQL and C#, now I'm using Python, so I'm just like everywhere.
Yeah, I understand that. It's funny to me because I see the people who play around with C++ or C# a lot, and they always put their semicolons after everything, and I'm like, well, it still works. So yeah, I can tell my C++ people. It just becomes habit.
Every time there's like some sort of indenting problem, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what's wrong with everything?
Where are my curly braces? Dang it! Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. The thing that I most dislike about Python is the indentations. It has caused me more heartache and pain than any other language, honestly. Especially when it comes to scripting, because with taking your code from one place to another, if you copy and paste, it loses some of its formatting, and it'll change the tabs to spaces and spaces to tabs, and everything gets messed up. And if you have a mixture of tabs and spaces instead of all tabs are all spaces, then it won't process for you. It'll end up just bottoming out. So and then you have to figure out which one of these white spaces is tabs and which one is spaces, and then you spend 3 hours trying to figure that out. It's terrible, absolutely terrible.
That sounds awful.
It is. It is. That's why you figure out which IDE you have that keeps that consistent. You just use that, and then copy and paste from there. But yeah, I hate that a lot. Oh man. Okay.
So is the module, I don't even know what the next module is. Module 5? No, it's module 7, I think.
Yeah, next one, 7, I believe.
So is the programming assignment on module 7, is it technically just the same one as this module?
Yeah, it is. It actually, let me see if I can actually find the entry point there. If you were to look at, you're not going to make it easy on me. This is the thing. I'll go to assignments instead of going to module, and it doesn't break it down for me properly. So, all right. Yeah, module 6. If you were to look at module 7's programming assignment, it says started in MO6. So, yeah, essentially what you're given for this week is not even, you don't even have a submission. page. Essentially, it's just a page telling you what the assignment is. And then next week, you actually are given the submission button. And the next project's worth 60 points. So essentially, it doubles up for both weeks. But yeah, it's just exactly the same thing. It's like do chapter 11 exercise 11.9. That's it. So yeah.
That makes things a lot less stressful. Because I saw the no due date and I was like, well, maybe I'm just supposed to still turn it in and I just don't necessarily know the day, so I was tripping.
Don't worry, you're in good company. I think I had a few people who ended up writing me and asking me about it. They were like, so when is this due? And I'm like in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Just cool it out, man. I'm getting there. Yeah, and it doesn't really, it's not even noticeable because I was messing around with it when I was setting it all up and noticed that and was like, oh, this is a page. It's not actually an assignment. So anyway, not important. All right, cool. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Like I said, I think this is actually going to be pretty short. How did you like the GUI?
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I understand.
I struggled with it.
Do you see the use of like the investment calculator, for example?
I think it's useful, like for a lot of the smaller task things, but for like larger scale projects and fans and stuff, like not really useful.
So even on the usually I paste the files and notes or whatever, and I still will do that. But I looked at the car, like last week I was talking about the car to you guys, and I was like, I'm just taking the book as an example, and I changed some things on it, but I was like, I'm using the book's example. I'm not going to code this myself. This will take me like 2.5 to 3 hours by itself to even get something that's quasi-functioning. I'm not going to waste the time. And then when it came to the fan, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do the arcs and stuff. So I just didn't do it either, which is why I made it extra credit, because honestly, I can't see if I'm not able to do it with ease, I'm not going to have you guys do it. Like if it stumps me for 3 days, I work another job, and I do that full time. I've got 3 kids, 1 on the way. I've got two groups that I take care of, and we meet every single week. And I'm just like, I just don't have it in me. So like, I'm not going to force you guys to do it. What a joke. Make a car that can move. Waste your time.
That's appreciated, because yeah, when I see projects like that, I'm like, when the hell am I ever going to use this?
No, and I mean, kudos to the people who decided to take a stab at it. Some people actually got the car working, and I was like, good, like that's pretty impressive, all things considered. So that and the fan, I didn't even know what the heck to do with the fan. I mean, I know how to make it and how to animate it, but my version of the fan wouldn't look like it does at all. It's not like arced or anything. It's not a circle. It's not graphed out in circle arcs. It literally would probably be like a bunch of rectangles that are hooked together that move. And I'm like, there you go. That's all I got for you. So whatever. It's just.
I felt like during that module, I was literally looking at the book and copying and pasting per line what like some of the practice exercises said, and I was like, I guess this mismatch works somehow.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, and that's honestly where you have to learn. I routinely get lots of messages from people, and they're asking, can you look at my code? Can you look at my code? Can you look at my code? And the thing is that becomes a little tedious because it's not really my role to be looking through people's code and finding where the errors are. Like it's really up to the students to figure out how to debug it. Put in print lines here and there and figure out where it's stalling. So, I'll do that a little bit, and then I finally end up getting kind of like, I can't spend my whole weekend debugging other people's code. I do that for my other job. So essentially it comes down to like, yeah, do what you did. Go to the book, find examples, test those examples. If it doesn't work out for you, figure out why it didn't end up working out, and then find another example in the text and work from there. And that'll give you enough familiarity, because when you're a professional developer, what you do is you look at other people's code, you end up saying, their code is not exactly the answer that I'm looking for, but I can take that, I can use it, I can adapt it, and now it's the same business case that I want it now, using portions of theirs. And you're going to do that. That's what you're supposed to do as your job. But really adaptability and connectedness and awareness of how things connect and are similar between 2 different programs is of utmost benefit. So if you can get that skill, you're set, as a developer. Steal other people's code. And by steal, I mean, credit them in some capacity.
Ask them very friendly, and then ask them out for a drink later on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, spot on. And you're like, really dig your repository, bro. Thumbs up on that. Like, promote it or something like that. That's the developer community is pretty tight for a reason. So anyway, yeah, I don't see, like I said, I don't see a whole lot that we're not needing to go into. I'm going to be posting the books example of the fan. Most of you already have that anyway, but I'm just going to make sure it's easily found on our class site. I'll also post the working program of the car, and I changed some things too so that you can actually essentially you can, when you press up or down in the background, you'll see like how the speed's being altered and how it's checking for that. So you can check out my adaptations to that if you want to. So yeah, outside of that, I mean, I really don't have much more to say about the GUI stuff. The GUI is super helpful when it comes to like making a calculator or something that a lot of business units are going to have a running tally every single month of certain things. And you're like, take the input values, right, and do your processes. And like, as long as you know how to make like an input calculator, like you guys have been doing for your assignment, and you can make something similar to that and then run it for them with efficiency. I mean, that'll honestly take care of a lot of the business cases. And a lot of people hate, programs that you have to type in stuff. They actually want the nice, crisp little GUI environment, and so you'll make it for them. It'll make them happy, even if it's a dinky little program. So, in addition to that, you can also set up, menu. Literally, you can make a full application out of the GUI. Heaven forbid, but literally, you can end up making a menu that gives you tons of different criteria. So if they select investment calculator for the menu, it'll bring up that interface for them. If they end up selecting, annual yield calculator, then it'll pull that up. So you can make a menu that pulls up different features and functions, and then you can have it in one little GUI, a nice, tidy thing that'll help them run all their business processes in a GUI that doesn't take a lot to end up using, or in all honesty, even programming. So it's worth your time to learn how to use the GUI well. If I decide to put this on one of your exams or something in the future and give you all a heart attack, I'll let you know ahead of time. So beware. If I feel cruel and I want to spite you guys, maybe I'll do that. But I know I'll earn no friends. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, a quiz. When I cover the quiz stuff, we can look at that real quick. Let me see what I have here. Okay, things to end up knowing for the quiz. Let me check here real quick. Chapter 10 stuff. Let me find a more succinct version of what you need to know. All right. You want to know about the len feature, checking the length. You want to know about the max, the min, the sum, all of those functions. You want to know about how to use them, how to call them, what they actually do. You want to know about the use of the shuffle function in the random module to shuffle elements that are inside of a list. So that can actually be helpful for you. You can, you want to know how to call certain individual elements in a list utilizing the square brackets. You'll want to know about where the index starts at, which is 0, of course. You'll want to know how to use concatenation operators to concatenate two lists. You want to know about the slicing operator. You want to know how to use the for loop to traverse all elements in a list. You want to know that lists are mutable, so you can make a bunch of changes, including the functions like append or extend or insert, pop, and remove to add and remove elements from a list. You want to know, let's see, you can use the index method. The index method is actually pretty helpful for your homework even, to get the index of an element in a list. And the count method, of course, to return the count of the elements, how many times the element is found in the list. Sort and reverse, you want to know about split. You want to know how a list is passed. You'll want to know if a list is sorted, if the binary search method is actually going to be faster and when it's faster. And of course, that's in the capacity of it being a sorted list or not. That's important to know. You want to know how, kind of basically how selection sort ends up working. And you'll want to know the insertion sort algorithm that sorts a list of values by inserting a new element into a sorted sublist until the whole thing is sorted. It's good to just kind of learn a little bit about sorts in general, because literally when it comes to understanding data and how it functions, you're going to have to sort things all the time. And using lists is incredibly beneficial to you. In fact, one of the things that I think that Python does better than most others, their list capacity and functions are fantastic, built into the program. Also, their dictionary functions are phenomenal. I mean, honestly, what makes Python, I think, so utilizable, so beneficial in workforce is dictionaries. Dictionaries are fantastic because you can learn how to make a solid dictionary, and we're going to get to that down the road here. But if you know dictionaries in Python, you can end up making JSON documents really easily, and JSON is just a form of key value pairs, and essentially you can run so many things configuration-wise based on JSON, and Python is killer at setting up JSON scripts. So anyway, good things to know. But yeah, that's essentially it in a nutshell. There's really not a lot that I need to end up running through. A lot of people have already started doing all of the exercises for this chapter, which shows me that nobody's really all that concerned, and they're not having a hard time with this. So that's a nice change of pace. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
I did have a question, kind of unrelated.
Yeah, fire at will.
So right now, I'm at a job where I'm technically IT, but I'm also doing some development in that role as well. But I was always curious, like what, I don't want to say like how easy or hard, because obviously it's going to depend on the job, but like at a base level for getting an entry level just developer job, how hard would you say like the coding is for those jobs? Like what's expected of the coding, I guess?
That's a fantastic question. It'll totally depend on the place. That's a really complex.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, that's a really complex question because it really does change from place to place. If you're looking for the job title of developer, then when you come in, you're going to be handed some pretty hefty stuff, right? If you get the job title of like programmer or analysis, essentially, you're not going to have as hard a time of it. It's the difference between them expecting you, what the output is going to be. So if you're considered a programmer in some capacity, what they're expecting of you is to be able to write scripts or small console applications, things that support other applications. That's what you're going to be expected to do. If you have the job title of developer, you're expected to output like full-fledged web applications or client applications. You're expected to put some pretty hefty stuff forth.
Oh Jesus, yeah, then definitely beginner programmer and developers would want to move into at some point in the future.
So, and just so you know, I mean, honestly, you can go and seek. This is my advice. Like I did not, when I first started my work as a developer, I came out of school. Like I've told you guys a little bit about my story. When I started out, I was 31 years old. I had been working in some kind of ministry capacity for about 15 years. Traveled the country, gave tons of talks, and helped communities, etc. But I had nothing to do with the realm of programming. I helped out with IT stuff for whatever place I found to work. There was always IT needs, and I always knew how to fill some of them, so I would help. But nothing lavish. When I ended up going to get my first job, everybody ended up looking at me and said, you've got no experience, so we're not going to do anything with you. And I was looked at as a liability. So my encouragement to everyone, bottom line, is go find a place where you can either intern or get some programming experience. The fact that you're doing IT-oriented stuff already with some program elements to it, you're already light years ahead, to be perfectly honest with you, because most people aren't there. Other people end up moving from, a job that has nothing to do with this stuff. They have their school environment where they're doing this, and you'll be asked in an interview, what examples of work have you done? Can you show us or tell us about? And you're like, what my classes made me do? I don't know. I made a tic-tac-toe game. And they're like, cool, I guess. So they're not really enthused or interested. They brought me in to First Source, for example, as a total liability. And they were about ready to pass on me. But this freaking awesome dude who was like an ex-Marine, did a whole bunch of special ops. He would like go out into the Middle East and essentially be abandoned by the United States military. He'd go out to enemy camps and he'd go and break into their data centers and would take his little Linux system and plug it into all, hardwire it into all these servers and steal all their data and do all these analytics on it. Dude was like incredible. He's insane. So what ended up happening was that the guy ended up saying, "This is the kind of person that you want. This is the kind of person you want on your team." Somehow he got me in. I started out doing operations work, like writing reports for people, doing SQL queries, all kinds of really random stuff. And then somebody gave me a little job. They ended up saying, "Here's a project that nobody's touched in like years. We've been trying to get this project done for 5 years. People gave up on it. Nobody's using it anymore. Would you be willing to just take it and see what you can make happen and see if you can fix the connectors to make it work again?" And I looked at it. It was an absolute nightmare. Whoever developed it did a terrible job. So it fell on me. I spent the next month and a half writing this in C#, learning C# because I didn't know C#. I knew C++. Learning C# from the ground up, wrote this massive web application in ASP.NET, and made this entire inventory tracking warehouse that could print pick and pack lists and organize where things were being shipped, etc. And they were so impressed with that they had never seen usually they would go out and buy products like that from vendors, but this time they had somebody in-house make it, and they didn't mean for me to make it. But they were so impressed by it that they were like, "You belong with the programmers," and they kicked me over the programmers. Then I got stuck in the cloud team doing all this amazing automation, innovation stuff. So to be perfectly honest, you're going to start somewhere, and it's probably not going to be very glamorous. So be prepared for that. But you get somebody to take a chance on you, and you invest everything you have into learning it, into making it. And if you know the right places to go to learn some of these skills, some of the in-depth skills, you'll be set. So that's my word of advice. You can go to Udemy, udemy.com. They have all these, essentially all these classes that you can end up taking to teach you how to make a web application in ASP.NET and C# using, .NET Core. You can take that class and you can come out, take a lot of effort, but you'll come out knowing how to make a pretty stellar web app, show that to a potential employer, and they'll throw cash your way because they see you have the chops to do it. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel a little bit better. I guess sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in feeling like a fraud of some sort.
Oh, no. Yes. Thank you. Can I just tell you, that is exactly how you're going to feel your first year, 2 years, 3 years doing this. Just so you know.
It makes me feel a lot better because I'm like, am I actually like, do I know my shit? Like, am I doing this correctly?
Right.
I don't even know if like I belong here.
Yeah, no, you're in good
like,
company.
Moving on the wave.
You're gonna find yourself working next to a senior developer, and you're gonna be mortified because they're gonna talk to you about crap that you're supposed to know. At least you think you're supposed to know it, and then they'll do your nervous laugh, ha 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 ha, and like, I'm supposed to know that. Of course, that's why this isn't working. And then they'll seem so casual about it, and you will feel like the biggest fraud. And here I am. It's been about 2.5 years of me working in depth with this stuff, and I have written things that will exceed the output that the senior developers that I work with have displayed. But they know way more than I do, and every time they say anything, I'm like, I'm a moron. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So yeah, don't worry about that. You're not alone. It's kind of depressing, actually.
Well, it definitely makes me feel better because it's like, I don't know. I know that like I'm pretty lucky to be where I'm at even right now, but it's just reassuring to hear it from somebody who's obviously like made it, that it's normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what to do to kind of get further.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing is that you're going to keep what's going to make you shine. And I'll be honest with you, even in the place that I work, like I love my coworkers. I think they're fantastic people. what differentiates me from them a lot of the time is that I'm willing to go and learn. I will spend probably 2 to 3 hours every single night watching videos and studying and picking up new skills that make me vastly more adaptable than they are. So what can differentiate you from other people that will make you worth so much more is your desire and initiative to go out of your way to learn new skills. And I even told my wife when I first started this IT path, I was like, listen, year 1 into year 1.5, I'm just telling you, like from the beginning to a year and a half in, you're going to have a hell of a time, and it's going to take a lot out of you. And then, it's kind of, how do I put it? It's kind of like being a sheep. Sheep hang out in a herd for a reason, not because the herd is safe, but because if you can get in the middle of the herd, then whatever's going to pick off the animals in the herd, they're going to go after the ones on the outside. So if you can hide if you can hide how much of a fraud you are by making yourself like adaptable and trying to learn as much as you can your first year and a half, you'll be gold, because anybody else who's not doing enough work is going to be picked off before you are, and they'll give you enough time to really know your stuff and to shine. So
that 10 out of 10 advice.
Yeah, exactly. And a little bleak, albeit realistic. Just be prepared. So yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I ended up learning the cloud stuff, and the people that I work with, I already have 3 certifications. In a year and a half time, I have 3 certifications. I'm taking my next exam for big data specialty at the end of this month, on the 25th. So wish me luck on that. But if I have a big data specialty certificate in the cloud, almost nobody has that. There's about 3 jobs in the area that are cloud big data specialty that all pay somewhere between about 125 to 165. So it's go out and learn the new skills. Make yourself
that's impressive.
Different. Focus on stuff that may be a little niche, but like is valuable. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation. I mean, I would love to see everybody who comes through this go into the cloud in some capacity, because really Python and the cloud go hand in hand. And if you have the Python side of it down, you can do almost endless stuff and really wow people to be like, they're going to ask you really stupid questions like, how do you use a multi-dimensional list? And you're just like, oh, you can do it like this, and this is how you end up finding the index for that. But what is more valuable is to actually spin up a system of this, put it into, the cloud and Lambda, which has no servers. So it doesn't run on any servers whatsoever. The cost is minimal to the business. You can build an entire architecture set that builds an entire web application that costs you almost nothing and has almost endless business applicability. And you say that to an employer, they'll lose their freaking mind, because you said things that confused them and were profound. Like, you're telling them that they can change their architecture so that they don't have to spend any money on maintenance on servers or whatever, and they lose it. So yeah, if you can pick up some of the side skills with it at your leisure. I mean, you don't have to do it right now, but my gosh, you guys
You've almost pretty much converted me from C++ into Python by your speeches.
Do it. I mean, seriously. And the thing is that why not both, And you know it well, I'm sure. I mean, C++ has its own ends. That's what I was studying when I was in college. But my friend still comes over because he's a freshman right now at IUSB, and he'll come over and be like, how do I do this? And we're going over his C++ code, Wendy. I swear I don't remember a look of it. Like, the fact that he's asking me, like, how do I do this one particular problem? Do I use a character array? And I'm like, character arrays, import strings. And he was like, okay. And I couldn't figure out why his strings weren't working. And then he had to import the header also, so strings.h. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many nightmares of this. Like, I hate you, C++, but like, I feel like Python's way easier, and I never use anything C++ anymore. Not in my job, not a chance. I use C# or nothing. So yeah.
That's about what I do too.
Yeah, learn C++. It's good, but it's good to teach you what a scoping language is and how it functions. Outside of that, you're not going to find a ton of C++ jobs. You'll find more C# at this day and age. So anyway, I'd say learn as many as you can, but really come out knowing, if you can know some HTML, some CSS, some JavaScript, maybe not even a lot of JavaScript, because me and JavaScript don't get along together very well. Some C# and some Python, you're sitting pretty. Like, you'll be snatched up in a second because you're so versatile. So that's my recommendation. And if you can do a cybersecurity class or something, take a security class, because anytime that you end up saying, I know how to code, I know how to code securely, employers are like, that matters to me. Like, that's well worth your weight in gold. So if you have any other career advice, just let me know. I'm happy to give you my 2 cents in it. I feel like one thing I do know is how to deal with business units, and what makes an employee profitable, but also what makes a programmer in general profitable. I've seen every side of a business and can kind of give you some background in it. So, yep. That's it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I've had a lot of teachers, but it just felt like, I don't know, like a lot of them, it's like they taught a class, but they didn't really know how to apply that knowledge
right
outside. Does that make sense? And
no,
absolutely. Kind of
like, absolutely. Well, I don't know if you know anything about my first bachelor's was in psychology. I mean, a lot of good that's doing me right now, I assure you. But since my first bachelor's is in psychology, how you learn, it's very important to know how you learn. And I don't know if you know anything about Jordan Peterson, but Jordan Peterson is a great psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, but he gives a lot of good advice about how we are evolutionarily set up, and things will not matter to you unless you know that they have a practical end to it. So me telling you about lists and index operators do not matter to you one bit unless you can see the practical application of it, or can see how it would be practically applied to your life right now or in the near future. If you can't see that, it doesn't matter. But honestly, what I really hope for all of you who take this class and any classes in the future is that you see the real business applicability of all these skills, because there's a lot there. I feel bad that you would just have to chalk a lot of this up to being, academically important, and then the importance of it exists almost in no way, shape, or form beyond that. So, and that's the point. Like, that's why I don't want you guys to do animations on this. Like, cool, if you want to do animations, do animations. Just don't do it through the Python, GUI. Like, that's a ridiculous joke. I would wish it on my worst enemy. So, be better than that. You see a project that's pointless, and you say, that is pointless, I don't want to do that. And at least see if you can push back on the professor a little bit, because you shouldn't have to waste your time doing that. Anyway, whatever. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
Well, I appreciate it either way, even just answering the question at all, because I know it's kind of a hard one.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and like I would encourage you to don't just aim for a programmer slot. What I would recommend instead is that you aim for the stars and you achieve it, right? I came into this all not like looking for a developer job, and I got so many calls back, and they kept saying, "What experience do you have? What experience do you have?" And I couldn't. And I was like, they were like, "What amount of money do you want?" And I was like, "I want at least $50,000 a year." And they were like, "Ugh, for no experience, not a chance." And I was like, "Come on." And I remember even my first year that they finally were like, "Okay, well, we'll go ahead and take a chance on you. We'll give you 52,000." I was like, "Well, okay." And then after a year, I got a $14,000 a year raise, and I was like, "Okay." After 1 year, if I can do that in 1 year, what can I do in 2? And then it just kept snowballing from there. So I don't want you guys to settle for the lowest possible opportunity. If you can do an internship, do an internship. If you can learn skills outside of this, shoot, if I could talk to anybody in this class and say, if you said, I want to find a certification that will pay me unrealistically beyond what I should be worth, I would say, okay, here's 2 certifications you should focus on. One is going to be anything that's cloud oriented, especially when it comes to either Azure or AWS. The other one that I would end up recommending is SalesForce, which you learn Apex coding. If you can learn SalesForce and how to code in SalesForce, there are people straight out of college that are getting $110,000 a year jobs coding something they barely know that really isn't that complicated of a language. And people are dying for Salesforce. So you want to go get a Salesforce certification, knock yourself out. You will make a very lucrative living right out of college. And that's not that much different than C# or C++. So honestly, think about that. That's all from me.
Will do, because I was actually looking at probably getting some certifications here soon, because I don't actually have any.
Yeah. You're not alone in that. You're not alone in that. Yeah, and the thing is that there's some certifications that are going to be worth a lot more than others. The question is, do you have a skill that people want? And beyond that, do you have something that is unique enough? I mean, I have a lot of friends that I know who have CompTIA.
I think I lost you.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. It'll probably click back here in just a minute. Yeah, my internet connection. It's funny because the video of me is frozen, and it has been for like the last 10 minutes. So I'm like, I like to imagine that the picture of me throughout the rest of this video is going to be me like half smirking, looking like an idiot, which is nothing new.
I noticed that, and I was like, I wonder if it's working on his end or if it's going to be like that the whole time.
Gosh.
But I just didn't say
so
anything.
If that's what you're seeing when we end up sending this video out and put it up on YouTube or something, it's just going to be that. What a horrifying thought. Whatever. I don't care. So yeah, anyway.
Editing magic.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to put something over the screen, splice it out somewhere. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I would end up saying, honestly, if you're gonna go for a certification or something, don't go get something like one of my friends did. They got like their CompTIA stuff, or they got like program manager, plus like one of the certifications that program managers end up having, project managers. I'm sorry. And you're like, that's helpful, but like when it comes to programming, it's nice to know a little bit about the background of what's going on the business end, but like nobody cares about the certification. Nobody. It's going to go to waste. You spent like 3 months trying to get this. Don't waste your time. Go find something awesome. Do that. Anyway. All right, I'm done. I'm done pontificating. I'll let you go. If anybody has any questions, they can go ahead and contact me. I am going to end up saying at the end of this video just that I'm going to start becoming a little bit more rigid about my allowing late work, because literally I'm getting stuff still from like week 3, and it's just really annoying to have to go back and I have to go get my metrics and stuff. So I'm just going to let everybody know that I'm going to become a little bit more stringent on that. But if you let me know ahead of time, I'll give you like a 2 or 3 day extension. But sometimes I'm nice. I'm like, I'll give you a 5 day. And then people take all 5 days and then they give me an incorrect assignment. So I'm like, if I give you the extra days, you better give me something pristine. Because if you do that in the business world, you're going to have a very hard time. You're going to end up saying, I need a few more days to finish a project, and you give them something crappy at the end of that. Well, shame on you. You're going to get fired. And I should probably fail you if you do something like that, just to prove a point. But like the reality is, I want to treat you like the grown-ups that you are. If you're not going to turn it in on time, then at least give you something pristine if I give you the extension. Because if you're having a hard time keeping up with things right now and your life is really busy and you can't figure out the time to do it, let me tell you something, 5 days from now, it's not going to be any different. So that's my 2 cents on that. I'm just going to let everybody know that my frustration level is increasing with the quality of work I'm getting from allowing people to have extensions. And I'm going to start grading people in response to my irritation. Fairly, but still. All right, I'm done. Wendy, you've heard enough of my irritations today. You have a beautiful night.
You too. Thanks.
We'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.